Hi everyone, Kenzie Benali here, back again with another episode of Saints at Home, coming to you from our homes to yours. I hope you're still dealing with the lockdown okay, but if you do need a little lift, you're in exactly the right place because we've got 4 amazing guests on the show again today. Southampton legend Rickie Lambert, men's first team assistant coach Kelvin, men's first team player James Ward-Prowse, and women's first team player Kirsty Whitton. So good to see you all. You're looking happy and healthy, which is the most important thing. How are you guys finding the lockdown? Because like James said, it's not easy, but hopefully you're managing to stay busy and you're doing okay. Does anyone want to jump in?
I'll go.
Go on, Kirsty.
I've probably struggled the first couple of weeks, just obviously with like the unexpected situation, obviously with the news in terms of our league, the disappointment with our league becoming null and void this season. So yeah, I definitely struggled the first couple of weeks, but I think like once I got myself into like a routine, got kind of the emotional kind of reaction out the way, I kind of got used to it now in terms of like got a routine in terms of training and work. So I think that's really helped, but I am like desperate to get back to it, but I think I seem to be coping with it like okay at the moment, I think.
How is that kind of element of training then for you, Kirsty and James? Are you finding it difficult to find the motivation to train alone at home, or are you actually kind of enjoying it?
I think for me, like I said to myself at the start of this period, like we don't know how long it's going to go on for, but I want to make sure that when we do get back to it, I'm in the best physical, mental position I possibly can be. So I think it has been quite easy to keep myself motivated, just in terms of we've got our own individual programs that we have to do, and I see and speak to all the girls, and they're all doing their sessions. So we just kind of want to make sure that we're ready and raring to go. So I think that itself is massive motivation for me, just making sure that I'm really prepared when we do eventually get going again.
James, how have you found training at home?
Yeah, not been too bad. I'm quite lucky. I quite enjoy doing the physical work, so I find that stuff not easy, but I enjoy doing it. So getting up first thing in the morning, getting out and getting some fresh air is a must for me. And a bit like Kirsty, really, I've kind of found myself in a nice routine, and being able to just get out there has definitely benefited me. And like I touched on earlier, if I don't do that, or we went through a couple of weeks where we were kind of not doing as much running, I found myself itching to get out and do it. But yeah, as long as we're back in the best physical shape we can be, then we give ourselves a good chance.
Yeah, the training's probably a really welcome distraction. But I guess for you, Rickie and Kelvin, the roles are slightly different. It's probably more homeschooling.
Let's ask Rickie what he's been doing. Rickie.
Yeah, Rickie, how have you been keeping busy?
I'll be honest, my exercise hasn't changed much. It's been the same as the last couple of years, to be honest. So yeah, it's just not being able to go out and interact with people, which I've struggled with, and the homeschooling as well. Especially Carter, who's in high school now, and I can't do primary homework, let alone high school. But no, I can only imagine like the players, Kirsty and James, what they're going through, because if I was a player going through this, I would really struggle, because I need people to push me. If I'm by myself, I struggle to push myself physically. So I can definitely see where Kirsty and James are coming from there, definitely.
I was going to say, you mentioned the motivational side of things, Rickie. That's actually a really good point for you, Kirsty and James, because are you kind of finding that you're relying on motivation from coaches like Kelvin? Are you having to get on the players' backs a little bit to kind of push them, or are you kind of finding that within yourself? James is nodding away there.
I think where we've been very good, obviously we've got a very strong sports science team that put together. I'm looking at Rick as I'm speaking, because I'm thinking you'd have definitely needed pushing, Rick. But the point is obviously the lads, they know what they need to do. We've got as soon as the lockdown came in, we were quite active in getting equipment out to the boys and making sure that they were they had the facilities to at least crack on and do something. And then it was about putting some pods together, and we all kind of grouped up into small groups to enable us to have our mini teams, if you like, to try and keep a bit more focus and keep the lads sort of on track more personally, rather than spreading, yourself around 25 lads. It was about shortening them groups up, getting on with a little bit of motivation and making sure the lads were aware of what was needed. And like everybody, we didn't feel that the lockdown would go on as long as it has. But what we've certainly done is put the lads in a position to give them the tools to do everything they need to do. Obviously, James, I'm pretty sure he'd be running in some league at the minute, knows where he is in his 5K, and there's a bit of competition amongst the lads. I'm sure, Kirsty, you're the same with the girls. I think it naturally occurs. You do what you do for a reason. You've got a competitive streak, and you want to improve, and you want to show the next person how good you are. And I think what the team have done at the club, putting that all together, has been very good, and it's given, like I say, something to focus on mentally. And as James was mentioning there about the early start, getting these into a routine, so that when we go back in, it's not a start from the beginning. We're kind of trying to put ourselves physically and mentally in a position to hit the ground running.
Kirsty, are you still keeping in touch with the girls and Marianne as well? And is she sort of reminding you to keep up the hard work and things?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got like a couple of WhatsApp groups with like the players and the staff. We've had a couple of like quizzes and like group team like HIIT and yoga sessions. I think like we're keeping in contact that way. I've spoken to Marianne quite a few times. She checks in with us on kind of a weekly basis. So yeah, keeping in touch with everyone just to make sure we're ticking over.
Kelvin, just going back to what Rickie said earlier about taking on the homeschooling side of things, I've got to ask, how are you finding that? Because I'm just struggling to picture you sitting down with some maths or something like that.
I think I'll surprise you, Kenzie. I think I'm a bit of a natural. I quite enjoy it. Yeah, I sit down with the youngest. I don't think, well, Amelia's 17 and Sonny turned 15 last week. So I'm not certainly not at that level, but with the the book reading and the maths and the adjectives and everything else with the English work, which we did today, I did have to Google adjectives just to confirm that it was. I thought it was, but I was right. Panic. I managed to get through it. I think the biggest challenge, I'm sure any other parent, is you're asking yourself, why don't you just do your work? You're sliding off the seat, you're walking around the room, and then you're seeing what else is going on out the window. And I'm thinking, how does a teacher manage 30 students in a class at that age? But again, I think probably I speak for most of the population in that position. Is you started like a house on fire, getting the kids all sat down, getting the clock, right, it's 9 o'clock, let's sit down and get your work started. And to be fair, Joe Wicks has been a big hit in our house. Kelly and Doug have been in the garden with the nice weather, doing that every morning and setting themselves up for a nice day. And then I take over at 9:30 for the first sort of seating, if you like, and try to get a bit of maths or English done. And it's been all right. It's been enjoyable. But as time's gone on, that 9:30, I think it was about 10:10 today, and I think it doesn't kind of continue to pan out today, and the routine's there, but the timing's quite varied over as time's gone on. That's for sure.
James, you've got a little one as well. Obviously, Oscar's too young for homeschooling yet, but I imagine he's keeping you on your toes.
Yeah, he is. He's wanted to play every sport under the sun. I've got one of his balls just knocking about under my feet at the minute. But he's, we've played a bit of everything. We've played cricket, we've played golf, football, everything. He's knocked a few picture frames over. He's crazy at the minute. But
how old is he, Prowse?
Here we go. He'll be 2 in June. So he's just at that age where he doesn't obviously know what's going on, but equally he just needs something every 10 minutes, and the amount of balls I've rolled for him to kick in the last 6 weeks has been mental. So Yeah, no, it's been nice, and you know, we do go away a lot, we travel a lot, and we miss out on a few things at the weekends with families. So to be able to have that time with him, especially within football, was quite rare. So although it's a hard situation, just try and make the most out of the current situation we're in, and yeah, he's been keeping me on my toes for sure.
Yeah, you mentioned there how nice it is to kind of have this time with the family. Excuse me, but I think one thing, you know, everyone's really been missing is football, of course. You know, for you guys as players, but for the fans as well, of course, watching it is such a huge part of people's lives. And of course, this week was the 8-year anniversary of the club's promotion back to the Premier League. A very, very special time. Rickie, I can see you smiling away there. Talk to us. Kelvin and Rickie, first we'll come to you about your memories of that day in the game against Coventry.
I remember everything. The one feeling what overrides everything, it was how nervous I felt. West Ham were coming back at us, and we knew if we didn't win, they were going to take second place. So it was just the nerves, and even though we were playing Coventry, we were bottom. We knew we were better than them. I couldn't help thinking, what if we screw this up today? What if we don't? We've been first and second all season. What happens if we drop out the last game of the season for the first time? And it wasn't until we were about 3-0 up, 4-0 up, where I started to enjoy the occasion and relax a little bit. And then the relief and the joy of when that final whistle came was unbelievable. The realisation that you're going to play in the Premier League with Southampton and playing in the best league in the world was unbelievable. And yeah, like I said, and then the fans running on and lifting us all up, and it was incredible. It was superb.
Yeah, Kelvin, an unbelievable day. What do you remember from it?
I don't. My football memory is not as good as Rick's. We've had this conversation before. Rickie remembers more details than I do, and I remember some of the feelings of the day. I certainly remember quite a bit of the evening, which was quite.
See, I'm the other way round.
But I just. I remember thinking that I'd had a really good game that day, and I can remember I made an unbelievable save down to my near post, and then I've watched it back since, and it was as routine a save as you're going to see. I think that emphasises Rick's point, is that, you know, every pass, every decision, you know, every tackle, every save in my case was tenfold that day, because you knew the importance of it. You knew what it meant for the club, what it meant for the supporters, and the journey that we'd started, you know, the season before that. And I actually got more memories of the first game of the season in the Championship. You know, getting back to the Championship was so important for the club, and I felt more pressure getting out of that league than I did out of the Championship. And you know, I can remember we beat Leeds 3-1 at home the first game of the season, and that for me was. Leeds was obviously a big team in that league, and us being promoted that season and winning our first game, I think that was an early sign for me that we were going to go on and do something special. And it's strange how different people's mind work, but the whole of that season, when you look back at it, there was a lot of games that you won, and you kind of look back on now thinking that was a big day. That was a big 3 points or a big win.
Do you know what game I think of, Kel? The Ipswich away. Remember that one? Yeah. That was the one where I thought, hang on, we're going to go straight up here.
Game, wasn't it?
Yeah. We were unbelievable. Still one of the best performances I've ever been a part of. And after that, I knew we were going to get promoted again. It was, like you said, I was thinking how we were going to do in the Championship, but it didn't take us long to realise that we were one of the best teams in the league.
Yeah. No, I agree, and I think we had a bonus system which worked quite well for us. Not coming out of that top two.
I was fuming at the time, though, wasn't I? I don't think he gave us a bonus out of the top 6, did he?
He was. That was where we started. That's where we started. Yeah. But again, looking back, whether that was a motivation or not, we come out the top 2 for the season. So looking back now, it didn't do us any.
Well, going back to that Coventry game specifically, James, you were actually in the stands that day.
Yeah.
What are your kind of memories from that day?
Obviously, massive day for the club. I remember being sat just to the right of the tunnel, just down the front. So I wasn't strong enough to get on and hold Rickie aloft, unfortunately. But I remember seeing everyone running on, and I think as a player at the time, obviously coming through the academy and near first team, it was a great team to be around anyway, and a great club to be at. But to then know that you could kick on into the Premier League and hopefully being in and around the team was a massive incentive for me going into that. So yeah, obviously exciting as a fan, but as a player and the prospect of playing in the Premier League, that gave me an even more kind of boost to want to go and play in the Premier League.
And would you have guessed that 3 months later you would have been starting against Man City?
No, I wouldn't have imagined starting. No, I mean just to be in and around it, even just to travel and sit sit in the stand and watch that one would have been great. But for me, it's a nice accolade to be part of Rickie's first Premier League goal. I remember a little touch I did off there, so that's one of the memories I have. And Kelv having a little word with me before the game, little things like that you look back on.
How did you feel before the game, Prowse?
Obviously nervous. I think what I kept telling myself, and it's quite funny looking back now, is you're making your Premier League debut at the Etihad. It was the home of the champions, 50,000 people. All these things were going through my head and the people I was up against. But I felt ready, and the manager at the time made me feel very comfortable. All of the lads made me feel so at home as well. And I think that's very difficult for a young player to come in and feel at home straight away. But everybody within the team, all of the staff, felt like I'd been there, forever. So I was made at ease by everyone else, which made the occasion a lot easier for me.
James, you did kind of touch on it a little bit there, but I kind of wanted to ask you guys what your memories were of playing with one another. I don't know, Kelvin, if you want to kick us off.
I was just going to ask Rickie a question. How did he feel going into the Man City game?
Yeah, as you can imagine, I was an angry man. I think it worked well in some ways, mate, because I was a caged animal there on that bench. I couldn't even look at Atkins. I was just, I was trying to keep my emotions in check.
You did, mate. You kept him in check. It was a good goal. It was all good. Sorry,
Rickie,
what did you ask?
Just a standout moment, really, or something that pops to your head about kind of playing with one another.
I think playing with Rickie was, from a goalkeeper's point of view, and I'm totally just talking performance. It's such a godsend when you can almost kick a ball anywhere on the pitch and know that Rick's going to get on the end of it. I think he's the type of player that makes other people look better because he puts himself and uses his body so well and gets himself in such good positions. And obviously knowing what he can do in front of goal, scoring goals, gives every team confidence, and knowing that you can go into any game thinking at any point, Rickie's going to score. And I think he's obviously, his goal record has been proven. For us, it's certainly put us where we are now. And I think a player like James, who, it's not just, for me, it's not just what James does on a match day. It's how he trains, how he is around the training ground. And I think professionalism is a word that's obviously used quite frequently. But I think when I think of professionalism, I certainly think of Prowse, because he's certainly a lad that it gives everything, every training session, and certainly in every game. And if I was to talk about in terms of what playing with him it was like, you knew that he was a kid you always wanted to help, and he was a guy that would always take.
He was fearless as well, Cal, wasn't he?
Sorry,
17. Prowsey, feels.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. You would always give him the ball. You'd always trust him with the ball. And, you know, although he maybe scanned a bit too much sometimes, we to have a young lad come through and play and help, or like to think you help his career is a nice feeling. I'm sure you feel the same.
Yeah, you all went through so much together. I'm sure you could speak forever about your memories of playing with one another. Rickie, is there anything aside, I suppose, from the obvious, like we mentioned, the Coventry game there, anything that stands out for you playing alongside Kelvin or James?
No, I would definitely say that when Atkins took over, it took a while to get a way of that he wanted to play. He wanted to pass out at the back, like ridiculously. We had to pass out at the back. And I can remember a couple of conversations right before the kick-off, Kelvin, if you can remember, against some teams who we knew they were going to press us. So Kelvin's team talk was basically, ignore what he's just said. I'm going long to Rickie. So make sure that you're around Rickie. So I can just remember Atkins on the side just roaring at Kel. And it worked. Like the first 15, 20 minutes, he just went long to me, and we got out. We got past the press, and then once we got past the press, we started to pass it a bit. But I think the way Atkins made his play was unbelievable, and I think the combination of playing out at the back and Kelv going long to me, because Kelv could literally hit. I used to kick off on him because if he hit my right side of my chest, because that's where the defender was. I wanted it on the left side, and I think that just worked so well, and it destroyed teams, to be honest, because if teams wanted to press, then he could go long to me, and if teams sat back, then we would just pass out at the back. And I think Atkins got it perfect, to be fair to him. And it was just a couple of times where we probably changed it at 30 seconds before the kick-off was about to start, which was quite funny.
Oh, well, very fun memories indeed. Now, guys, we always play a little game on Saints at Home, and hopefully you've been given a little heads up on this, but we're going to play Quarantine House. So I'm going to come to you individually and ask you, if you were stuck in quarantine with 4 past or present players, who would you pick? That's kind of difficult for the lads on this call, because obviously you've all played with one another. Kirsty, you don't have anyone to feel obliged to pick here. Kirsty, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, got 4 people, so mine's probably going to be a little bit sentimental. So I'll probably have to choose. When I was growing up, I've got a younger sister, she's 2 years younger than me. Played in the same team. She currently actually lives in Leeds, so I haven't seen her for a while, obviously, due to the situation. So I definitely pick her to come into isolation with me, just so I can spend a little bit of time with her. And then, I've made some like great friends through football. So I'd probably have to pick a couple of those. So it'd probably be my like lifelong best friend, Steph. We grew up playing football together, right the way through like teenage years in the same team. And then third person would probably be the team I used to play for, our captain, Kirsty Bell. She's just like a brilliant like motivator. She's a real like inspiration to people. So I feel like she'd keep me like going and motivated like throughout this period of time. And then I'd probably have to pick someone that's probably quite like entertaining or useful. We've got quite a few like entertainers in our team at the moment. So maybe someone like, I don't know, like Shannon or Caitlin or something like that I could think could make me laugh like for a few weeks.
Shannon would keep everyone entertained. That's
probably,
for sure.
Yeah, so probably that. But yeah, I think that pretty sentimental and then an entertainer, I think.
No, you got all bases covered there. I like it. Rickie, what about yourself? Who would be your 4?
Yeah, no, you would have to definitely have someone to make you laugh. And we had a couple in Saints, didn't we, Cal? We had 2 very funny fellas, Danny Butterfield. Danny Butterfield and Paul Watton. Them 2 together, they could just make you laugh. Like they could just make the time fly by. if I pick Kelvin, then he would just make me do his teas like he used to make me do when I used to stay in the same rooms. No, but I'll probably pick Dan Arden, Kelvin Davis, Danny Butts, and maybe Chappers as well, because Chappers is very dry. His banter's very dry, but I liked it. It was my type of banter. He could be ruthless at times as well, which I kind of liked as well. So yeah, it was Kelvin could be the father figure and look after us.
Kelvin, who would you want to be stuck in quarantine with?
I hate these questions because I feel like I'm leaving someone glaringly obvious out. But I certainly like to have someone that's going to make me a cup of tea. So that was always important. And before your time, I used to room with a guy called Andrew Sermon, who obviously you're aware of, and Drew was equally as good at making tea as yourself, Rick. So, it was a toss up between you two, but as you're on, I'll go with yourself.
Nice one.
The only thing that used to wind me out, you didn't mind a little sleep in the morning, and obviously it had to be pitch black, and that was because I used to like an earlier night than yourself. You used to get the controls and watch what you want to watch on TV, so it used to work quite well. But in the morning, I'd lie there waiting for you to wake up so that I could start running about and get going. These days, these guys don't understand any of that. They get a room to themselves, a big king-size bed, and a bit of room service. They're fine. So they don't have to go through the worries that we had to. But such is life. And then for the, I'm totally with you with the Butts and Watts one. I'm not quite sure whose banter I prefer. Probably Danny's is probably a little bit less ruthless, if you like. I think if you want to giggle, then you go with Butts. But if you want some real deep belly laughs, then you'd probably have to go with Watts. But a little bit older and mature these days, so I'll go with Danny Butterfield for a bit of coaching chat, because obviously he's a coach now himself, and he would probably keep me you'd probably learn a little bit from him, that's for sure. 2 more to go. I think Dan Harding would be in there because you just know that he needs a bit of space from his missus. So he'd just be begging me to take him away from his wife and family for a couple of weeks so he can just relax and not have to do the hoovering and the ironing. So there's Dan. And the fourth one I'm really struggling with, to be honest. Was that Prowse? No, you wouldn't get in there, mate. You would not survive, Prowse. I'm worried about you. Come back to me.
I'll come back to you. Prowse, who would you want to be quarantining with?
I think the most important thing would be food. I think need some good food on the go. So I'll go with Longy. He's a bit of a chef. I've seen him whip up a few meals in the past. He makes a good coffee as well, to be fair. So he'll be my coffee guy as well. In terms of entertainment, I'll probably go with Ingsy as well. Ingsy can play the guitar, Longy can play the guitar, and Ingsy's got a few dance moves, so when we're bored, he can just rock about and show me something. Who else would I go for? Probably go for Fraser as well, Fraser Forster, and I'll get James Rodriguez in there as well. He's a good guy. I for when he was down here, so I'll go.
Oh, I think we just lost you there, Prowse, but I think we just about got your 4 in there.
What was number 4? What was number 4?
Was it Jay Rodriguez?
Jay Rodriguez, yeah.
Oh, good shout. You see, that's what annoys me. Then people start mentioning names. I'm like, of course, J Rod. Longy, I'd have Longy in for a bit of a sing-song. Gets the guitar out. I'm having Longy. You can't have Longy. I'll have him.
Great shout as well to have bases covered in terms of someone who can cook. That is, nobody else thought that, so that was great from Prowse.
So sensible, mate. So sensible.
I had most time to think about it.
Just before we let you go, Kelvin, you've been quizzing with James.
Yes.
How's that been going down?
You say quizzing?
Quizzing, yeah.
No, we've had what is it? There's 4 couples, James, yeah? There's 4 of us.
Davo's in as well.
Davo's in, yeah. So it's been quite good, actually. It's I think we've got a quiz night tonight, haven't we? Is it tonight?
Yeah, tonight, yeah. Dreading it.
Better then.
We've all taken turns in who's the quiz master, and that's come up with the questions. So it's quite good because James did a round on impressions, which I won't make you do. Kelsey, don't worry.
Oh,
Don't worry. But it was entertaining. So again, as we started the conversation, we just somewhat different, keeping ourselves together and try to keep motivated and remember that behind all of this, what's going on, there's good people out there that are looking out for each other, and to just have a bit of a group quiz and get the girls involved and somewhat different. You learn something different about somebody every week. I didn't realise how good Longy was at gargling, so.
There's so many questions I've got after this, Kelvin.
You've got my number, Kenz. We can do it offline.
Something Kelvin about, a lot of good people out there at the moment. And just as a little sign off, maybe it'd be nice for you guys to kind of sum up your thoughts and feelings on the amazing key workers and NHS workers we've got out there at the moment, working on the front line and doing such amazing things. And I'm sure, we all share the same thoughts, but, it might be nice for the fans to hear what you guys would like to say to them. So Kirsty, I don't know if you want to kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there's so many amazing people out there doing great work on the front line, making sacrifices. I mean, we're, like James said earlier, we're in the fortunate position we can spend some time with people that we care about over this time. And people are out there that are kind of risking their lives on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, really appreciate it on behalf of everybody kind of at the club, and we really wish everybody well, and hopefully see everybody soon at a game, whether that's a game at St Mary's or a game at Tottenham. But yeah, just hope everybody stays safe and healthy.
Guys, I know it's probably very much echoing the similar thoughts, but Rickie, anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, no, I'd just like to add on to that. I think Kirsty was spot on. I think what the NHS have done, especially sometimes without the necessary stuff that they've needed, and they've still done it to try and help everyone, which has been unbelievable. The care workers who've stayed in the care homes and stayed in tents so they don't interact with their own family. I think stories like that, to be honest, has been amazing. It just shows you what people we do have in this country and what they're capable of. And I'm made up that everyone's giving them the recognition they deserve, and hopefully the government will give them the help they deserve as well.
James, it's so humbling, isn't it, to hear about all those stories and the people that are working on the front line at the moment.
Yeah, that's it. I think for us, we're very fortunate to be in the world of football and doing what we're doing. And I think the biggest thing that I'll take out of it is, we always get annoyed if we don't play or we have a bad result or a bad refereeing decision. But there's a lot of other things to take from the world now, and the sacrifices that other people are making. So they make our job seem very small. And I think like Rickie said, they're getting all the recognition they deserve, and rightly so.
Kelvin, anything you want to add to that before we say goodbye?
Well, we've covered it really, but the unselfishness of every key worker, and obviously the NHS blows your mind. I'm like everybody else. We stand at the end of our drive and give them a round of applause on a Thursday night, and you generally feel you want to show their appreciation. You want to show your appreciation, and you feel that's the only thing you can do, certainly at the present time. But as James says, we're looking forward to getting back and trying to get some normality so that everybody can show their appreciation properly.
Yeah, absolutely. Massively grateful, and as you said, there really are wonderful people out there. But guys, it was absolutely amazing chatting to you all, and great to see you all doing so well. And you know, stay safe, stay healthy, and as you say, really looking forward to football being back and getting our lives back to normal. But until then, take care. Best of luck with the quiz tonight, Kelvin and James. And yeah, we'll see you soon, hopefully.
Take care. Cheers.
Nice one, Kenzie.
I need it, trust me.
Nice one, guys.
Thanks, Kev.
Cheers, take care.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Take care.
Bye.
Yeah.